More Heart Than Talent Radio.
Of my GMS office, looking out on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon, the first Tuesday in February 2020. Welcome to More Heart Than Talent Facebook Live. It is my unequivocal privilege to be here with you today. The topic for today's call is objective, clear, and honest. So we're talking about integrity. So if you're just coming on to the Facebook Live, welcome, welcome, welcome. A recap of Super Bowl Sunday. First situation I noticed, it was odd not to see Tom Brady playing in the game, and then to see my two favorite teams, which are the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. So it was very interesting and gut-wrenching, since the 49ers are my favorite team and the Chiefs are my second favorite team. So go Chiefs, congratulations, and 49ers, you came in second. And with that, let's move to the inspirational portion of today's call. I want to see who is on Facebook Live today. Tracy Calvert, good to see you. Renee, good to see you. Aaron, Deb, Glenn, and Rhonda Thompson. Rhonda is soon to be a coaching client with me, so welcome to Facebook Live today. Now, the topic for today's live is about honesty, integrity, being objective, being clear, knowing, understanding. So that is consciousness. So as you move into that state of awareness, that state of knowing, your reflexes change. So that rather than being in fight or flight, that's a reaction, you don't react, you respond, responsibility. And in that energy, you can close sales, communicate, create leads, generate ambassadorship, create friends, be able to be open, because you're not in a worried, overwhelmed state. You're not in the future of what hasn't happened or the past regret of what has happened. You're here and you are now. And this space you live in, the space of consciousness, is a very relaxed, energetic state where you'll attract your reality frequently, people and situations that will fulfill a set of feelings that transmute from joy, love, enlightenment, experience. You're able to bond, connect with people. You're able to create relationships because you're relatable. You're not saying to yourself, what's wrong with me? When you live in an overwhelmed state, you live in a place called doubt. That's the space between fear and faith. It's also the space between consciousness and doubt. So in that doubt, when you live in doubt, doubt is a safe place to be disappointed. As you let go, separate your feelings from the events that shape them. As you move into that state of letting go, you're not in a future tense worry about what hasn't happened, so you're here and now. When you live in denial, denial is the state of I don't know what happened to me, I don't understand, I don't know why I do this, so that's denial. When you do know, when you let go of what you do know and you start to communicate differently, the brain and body start to operate in a much more aligned state. And in this state, you will seldom ever have respiratory issues, bronchitis, hay fever, asthma, shortness of breath, overwhelmed situations, and you will seldom ever have health challenges. Now me, I hardly ever get sick. That's a belief of mine. And I used to have migraine headaches. I never get headaches. That just is a belief of mine. I am in very good shape. I exercise 7 days a week. I'm 63 years young. I have a routine that I operate on. But most importantly, I spend my time in consciousness. So that means I'm separated from anxiety, fear, and doubt. I'm here and now. Now, I relapse occasionally, but in increments, very small increments, where I'll emotionally go into a state of fight or flight. I'll worry. The number one worry I worry about is getting in trouble. I grew up with a lot of challenges, specifically in my late teens into my 20s, with the law, drugs, alcohol, DUIs, public intoxications, drug arrests. So getting in trouble became a way of life. Then conflict, getting in trouble, unwinding conflict. So occasionally I will have some of those anxieties that lead to short-term worry. Now, short-term meaning neutralize worry in very short increments by a longer breath cycle. Accept the situation that's right in front of you. If you're not in acceptance, if you're not in honesty, then you're in some level of denial. That means you're in doubt, you're in anxiety, you're fear, you're lying to yourself, You don't want to face the facts. That's oftentimes with someone who lives in procrastination. They know what to do, but they don't know what they do to do because they don't want to do what they know what to do. So they avoid doing what they should do so that they can be disappointed. Now, when you start to understand that dichotomy that you live in, then you will begin to let go because the pleasure isn't worth the pain. When you move into the space where the pain is great enough, the pleasure is not worth the pain. Now let's take a look at the syllabus for today's Facebook Live. Every single Tuesday, my team sends out a syllabus here for the Tuesday Live. So I have them done for the next 4 weeks. So today's Facebook Live, honesty, objectivity, and clarity. Now, honesty and objectivity is what equals clarity. Clarity means you are clear. And most importantly, clarity means I. See, I in consciousness, I am, I know. And when you know, there is no doubt. When you know, you'll attract your reality other like-minded success seekers who also know. And so if you're presenting products, services, benefits, features, when you know your product is of value, when you know you're of value, when you have a value proposition, when you're valuable, you will attract more frequently people who see your value. And so commerce becomes easier because there's a lot less conversation. When you know and someone else knows, then there's no convincing. When you know and someone else knows, there's collaboration. They see it, be it, want to do it, purchase, move forward. And that's the kind of team culture that you are objectively seeking to attract in a higher level of rate of supply and demand. Now, in supply, there are plenty of people who are looking for your message. That's diminished by the way you diminish yourself. So if you are not good enough, the people who are looking for the message aren't going to find you because you're a mixed message. As you become clear, that's clarity, that's the topic of today's call, as you move into objectivity and honesty. In the 12-step programs, the term rigorous is used in front of the word honesty. It's not really one of my favorite terms, but it means rigorous honesty. So as a pathological liar in recovery, that's what I was as an addict. I would lie to myself. I would tell myself stories. I would lie to everyone else. If you're in the group Sobriety Consciousness, Josh Moran wrote a really good post a couple of weeks ago on being a recovering pathological liar. Now, anyone who's been an addict has been in a denial state and lied to themselves. Now, that doesn't mean you're a liar to society, but in rigorous honesty, you start to become honest with yourself. You start to monitor your word choices. You start to let go of the word guess. See, guess keeps you in an uncertain state. I don't know keeps you in an uncertain state. But when you let go, separate feelings from events. Many of my coaching clients have said to me, I've heard you say that 1,000 times. Good, receive it. Because if you heard me say it 1,000 times, integrate it. The integration of it is when there's application. Application is the result. People ask me, how do I close sales? By asking questions in a sequence that lead to the outcome you seek, by letting go of the anxiety of making a mistake, not worrying about getting in trouble, being able to understand the inner game of selling, branding, marketing, writing, being able to send messages and see what kind of feedback you get back from those messages. Look for people who are qualified, who are serious, who are committed. The people who are interested will have excuses, objections, reasons not to move forward, not to purchase. And in your inner ear, in your own honesty, you hear this and you don't get seduced by going, oh, they're a really good person. There's a big discrepancy between attracting a good person and a good person who can produce. And when you let go of this, oh, they're a really good person, this would be really good for them. When you let go of this and of these lies and stories and fibs and situations you tell yourself, now you're in clarity. Clarity allows you to understand the situation for what it is. It means you're not in denial. You're not telling a story. You're not overwhelmed. You're not living on hope and a prayer. I mean, you're living in facts rather than fiction. You have a much better understanding. In clarity, you know. You know what to do, and you're being that person. You're being it and doing it at the same time. That's the trifecta of be, to, create. And as you do that, you start to attract your reality in a higher law of average. That's what happens. When you transmute your feelings in a higher level of consciousness consistently, then you won't be praying for a miracle, or you're not looking for an accident. It's because in a higher law of frequency, in a highly evolved conscious state, you'll attract your reality quality, like-minded people that can come together and collaborate. Now, the Super Bowl was a perfect metaphor for this. So the San Francisco 49ers intercept a pass with 9 minutes to go. They're up 20-10. If they score, it's 27-10, and deductive reasoning would say they'll run off 5 minutes of the clock to do that. So that means the Chiefs would have 4 minutes to score three. They'd have to score 3 touchdowns to win the game. But what happened was the 49ers went 3 and out 3 consecutive times, while Patrick Mahomes, the leader of the Chiefs, scores 3 consecutive times at the end of the game. So the player who required to show up the most at the end of the game showed up the most. Now, I'm not suggesting that Jimmy Garoppolo blew the game or that Kyle Shanahan, the coach of the San Francisco 49ers, is a choker or a loser, but I am suggesting the Kansas City Chiefs won because they scored 3 times with the ball when it counted and when it mattered. I mean, that's what a producer does. A producer shows up to produce because a producer is productive. Someone asked me today, do you have a routine in the morning? Do you meditate in the morning? Do you hesitate? Do you levitate? Do you pontificate? What do you do? Do you say prayers? Do you have gratitude? Do you say affirmations? I go, no, I don't do any of that. That's way too complicated for me. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I get up in the morning and I get dressed. I mean, it's that simple. I make a cup of coffee. That's even simpler. I send my Facebook post out. So that's very simple for me. I go down to my gym in my house. I get on my spin bike and I read David Hawkins for 20 minutes. That's the simplicity of who I am and what I do. And then when that ends, it's shower time and production time. And then I have breaks in the day where I have dedicated blocks of time to do this Facebook Live, dedicated blocks of time to prospect, dedicated blocks of time to enjoy my life with my wife, dedicated, I mean, it's simple. It's not complicated. When you live in simplicity, that's honesty, integrity, clarity. When you live in that kind of simplicity, complication is complicated. Being complicated is killing you. And when you're complicated, you're overwhelmed. When you start to simplify the situation. That's why I've always been able to teach selling, because my method of selling is very simple. It's a 1-2 call close. It's not 7 or 8 follow-ups. It's conversation and communication style with short sentences that end with questions. It's trial closing over and over. It's having a better understanding of who's a qualified buyer. It's letting people go who you intuitively understand are not qualified buyers, and then you keep your energy continues to flow to people who are open to receive the message. And it's not that difficult. And in a law of average, if you will practice this simplicity over and over, you will close sales, attract your reality, people and situations, because this is simple to duplicate. I can duplicate what I do because my system is simple. Most people's systems are very, very complicated, and in a complicated system, you can't duplicate. Simplicity is how you duplicate. And in a complicated system, you have to be intelligent. Not everyone's intelligent. You can teach simplicity. You can't teach intelligence. Although you can attract people who are highly emotionally intelligent, who receive at a high level. Those would be mavens and people who are connectors, and you definitely require some of those people. But what you want to be able to create is simplicity. So letting go is simple when practiced. It's very difficult when you complicate it. Letting go is a longer breath cycle. The reason you use a longer breath cycle is because that separates the neurons that wire and fire in the brain, that collapse, that form a feeling, that form an emotion that is anxiety. When you take a longer breath cycle, you're accessing your brain and your abdomen, which activates the reticular activating system, which fires the vagus nerve, which creates the release of the neurons that wire and fire that form the feelings, so that the reticular activating system stops searching for familiar feelings and starts searching for new feelings. Those new feelings are awareness, understanding, knowing, love, joy, bliss, and a very, very relaxed body. When you've been anxious your whole life, you're an anxious grown-up. You're an anxious grown-up in fight or flight. You're worried all the time. Now, that's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to let go. You'll end up having TMJ. If you're a dentist on the call, you'll understand this. You'll have TMJ. You'll end up having C1 and C2 on the non-dominant side of your neck will go out my right hand, so that means your left neck C1, C2, upper back, upper cervical, lower lumbar. 4 will go out, which is connected to female organs and is connected to the prostate in the male. You'll have one leg shorter than the other. These are mind-body conditions that affect you. Then you'll have, if you hold on to stuffed up feelings, now you'll have respiratory issues, you'll have hay fever, asthma. If you're pissed off at people, I mean, if you're really, really angry and pissed off, you'll have eczema, you'll have psoriasis, you'll have the skin issues that cause this. And if you just can't figure it out, you'll have digestive issues, you'll have gut issues, irritable bowel syndrome, and all these other situations that cause you to be sick. And see, when you're sick, now you're standing in line at the pharmacies of the world in a place called dis-ease. When you let go, separate your feelings from the events that shape them, you're not the mind-body connection to these events anymore. And then you start to live in a place called objectivity. Objectivity means you're honest about it. It means you're receptive to it. You're receptive to feedback. Not everything is criticism. When you let go of being sensitive and defensive, now you can receive insight from people. If you're sensitive and defensive, insight becomes criticism. I can't believe you said that to me. Well, you asked me a question. So if you're not receptive to insight, but if your brain turns it into criticism, now you're in fight or flight. Now you're going to be right. This always happens to you. You just got rejected, abandoned, and disappointed. When you let go of this anxiety and energy you hold on to, you're not the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. Now, for those of you who have never coached with me, now's a good time to really understand this. I'm offering a 20-hour coaching package. If you want to find out what that really means, contact me after the call. It means that you'd be coaching with me for the rest of the year. So what you're required to understand is that letting go has a companion called mind-body connections. But if you don't understand how to separate the feelings, then you won't understand the mind-body connections. They require to come together like this, so you understand this. There's a chronology of events that shape feelings. Now, if you've repressed feelings, that makes the situation more challenging because your ego is going to want to hold on to and keep them secret. But I'm very skilled at assisting people to understand the secret body that you hold on to. And when you start to let go of some of these secrets that you repressed, now you're in honesty. Now you can accept the fact of what happened to you. Now you move out of the lowest level of energy that you transmute from, that is shame. Shame and apathy absolutely take you to despondency. Despondency is despair. Despair is depression. Depression leads to suicidal thoughts. In this type of situation, you're in the lowest transmutation of energy that you could possibly be in. You'll attract perpetrators, violators, people who put you in a position to explain yourself, validate yourself. You'll be in conflict. You'll make mistakes. You'll go out and say dumb things on the internet, and then you get attacked, and you go, why does this always happen to me? Because that is what your body is seeking, that kind of conflict. I mean, I'm a pro at this because I'm in recovery of it myself. I coined the term conflict consciousness because that's what I used to live in. Dodged another bullet. I'll never forget, I get pulled over when I'm 21 years old. I got a rocket in my pocket. For those of you who remember what the 80s were, that would be cocaine. I had a rocket in my pocket. I get pulled over going the wrong way in a one-way street, and I'm able to bribe the police officer. Now, in today's world, that would never happen. I mean, this was 1980. I mean, that would never happen, and I would never do that because that's not honesty. That's how much my ego was attracted to being right and dodging the bullet. And I don't seek any bullets to dodge. I seek peace, love, joy, bliss. And when you move into that state, now you can move into the let go process. Seek no conflict. That's objectivity. Most importantly, that is acceptance. If you can't accept where you are and you keep saying, I should be further along. No, Chief, you shouldn't be anywhere other than right where you are because the decisions you've avoided have you there. The people you keep holding on to, relationships you hold on to that are toxic, have you right where you are. If you're living with your mommy and your daddy like I did once, I did it. So if you're doing it, I'm not criticizing you, I'm telling you, I was there. If you're living with your mommy and daddy in your 30s or 40s because you're saying, I can't afford to move out, well, that's denial. You could definitely afford to move out. You're just not willing to commit to it. And so when you accept that, now you can move forward. Until you can accept where you are, how you got there, that's denial. Once you move into honesty, acceptance, And then you can't move into gratitude until you accept where you are. Gratitude is a stratosphere away from you when you're in denial. When you're in acceptance, now you can move into forgiveness. You can't forgive until you're in acceptance. I mean, you can forgive all day long, but it's just words until you accept your responsibility in the situation you created. When you're able to understand, be aware, know, be objective. Someone's going, preach it. That when you're aware, understand that. When you know that, now you're in acceptance. Acceptance is freeing because it takes all the pressure off you that was never there anyway. Pressure is an illusion. There's no pressure. You're not under pressure. There's nothing up there. I mean, you're right here and you're right now. What you haven't done is you haven't produced the result to change the situation. The first result that you produce is you let go. You let go of not being good enough. You let go of why you do what you do. You let go of holding on to the events that shape the feelings. I mean, that's the first situation you do while concurrently producing. You don't do this. You don't do this over here and then say, "I'll do this later." Do it at the same time, and you learn to produce and let go in the same relaxed body. For those of you who want to change your situation, you have a lot of debt, that comes from profit. It doesn't come from rearranging your debt. Ooh, let me move this card over here where there's no interest on this, then I'll move this card over here and this, and then I'll take a second on my house, and I'll take a third on my house, and I'll pay my credit card debt over here. God, that's exhausting. Create profit. Profit is better than wages, said the great Jim Rohn. I know, I shared the stage with Jim Rohn 5 times. 4 of them, I hired him. One time I shared the stage with him in Los Angeles in 2000, in September 30th, 2000. There were 65 people there. It was amazing. When you're able to understand cause and effect, why you do what you do, you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. That's what letting go is. Letting go is an ability. It's a skill. It's a practice. It's an art. It's like music. It's poetry. It's like when you hear let go, you just go, fuck it. You can just let go like this. Some of my clients that are evolved and been coaching with me a number of years will say, I'm always letting go. That's because I taught them that. I've been teaching that skill set for years of always letting go. When you're always letting go, you're a 333 hitter. That means Hall of Fame, baby. You are Hall of Fame. You'll be in the Hall of Fame of letting go because you will be one of the law of the few who really understand how to let go. Instead of winning awards on stages, focus on creating results at your desk. That's what so many people do. They focus on being on stage. Well, your stage is at your desk, and your ass should be in the chair. That's the stage. When your ass is in the chair, and you can produce for a few hours a day, you will create the results that will lead to the stage. Like me, I never cared about the stage. That was never my deal. I was the #1 income earner in 2 different companies, but that wasn't why I was in a business. I wasn't in business for another owner. I'm in business because I own my business. I'm in business to learn my skills. I'm in business to learn profits because profits are better than wages. When you understand, that's not a concept, that's a reality. If you want to have assets, wealth, and be able to contribute to other people and society and whatever it is you want to do, it's going to come from the skills, the habits, the mindset, and most importantly, how you operate and show up daily. You can't give a half-assed effort and expect to be compensated for it. When you are here and you're now, and you don't get sick, you don't get overwhelmed, and you don't have respiratory issues and all this other shit that you create by being a victim, then you can be a victor. It's in a gray world, it becomes black and white. It's either shut up and produce and create results, or continue to whine and complain about the situation you're in. I mean, it really becomes that simple. When you practice simplicity and you let go, then you're not the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. Now, I will be this month, February 22nd, I will be in Los Angeles, California with Sandy Girl Clark as my guest. I will be February 29th. I will be in Minneapolis, Minnesota for the first time in a number of years. I believe it's 5 or 6 years since I've been in Minneapolis. No, it's 3 years I've been in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've spoken here a few times in my beautiful city. That will be February 29th. March, I will be, on the 21st, I will be in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. That is very close to Boston. On the 28th, I'll be in St. Louis, Missouri. The 12th and the 14th, Breakthroughs to Success. All of you that are my coaching clients, I highly recommend So do I see Marina Bello? I do. I highly recommend you attend Breakthroughs to Success as a repeater, even if you want to come back to it, or first time would be awesome. That's March 12th through 14th. And those are a few of the dates where I'm also in Philadelphia on March 7th. So I'm booked every weekend in the month of March. BOR, back on the road. So on the road again. So looking forward to that. Now, last but not least, if you're not taking advantage of one of my free 20-minute coaching sessions, feel free to do that. And if you're an existing client, or hired me previously, I have a 20-hour coaching package that will keep you coaching with me the rest of the entire year. Now that is a unique marketing proposition, UMP. Thank you very much, everyone. You have a great day.